You're out, it begins to rain, and you need to get a fire started. It's one question I get asked all the time. How do you start a fire in the rain? Or, if you're a little bit more advanced, you might ask the question, when I'm starting a fire in the rain, how do I protect it initially? Do I need to build some type of shelter over myself? Do I need to get sticks and build an awning? The reality is that there are a few quick, simple tricks that you can use all the time, basic to advanced skill levels, to get the job done. Let's check them out. So you can see that the rain is coming down, but the first thing you always want to take into consideration is try to get under some type of cover. Now, I don't mean build an actual shelter, I just mean think about the vegetation above. So if it's the winter time or the fall and there's no leaves left on the trees, maybe get an area that there's more pine. That way you're going to be a little bit more protected. It's going to just slow that rain down. Of course, in tremendous thunderstorms, that rain's going to still pour through anyway, but it's just giving you a little extra bit of protection from the rain, and it's going to make a huge difference. Second to go along with cover is if you can set up some type of shelter system, something quick, easy, and effective. What you need to remember is that emergency shelters don't need to be the Taj Mahal. They just need to protect you from the climate around you. Something small, quick, easy, and efficient to set up is going to be your best bet. Now at this point, I have two things in my favor. I found a good area that has some heavier pine above me. I also had an emergency shelter with me, so I'm protected from the weather for the time being, and I can also process all my material inside. Now I'm going to go out and collect firewood. Most likely I'm not going to find any natural tinder around here that is dry at this point, so if you have something in your kit that you can use, all the better. That's why we carry so many fire starting devices. But if you don't have something in your kit, you're going to have to cut inside wood to get those dry shavings like we talked about last week in a video. One thing that you do want to remember when collecting wood in this type of environment when it's wet is you want to collect the smallest material possible, because that flame has to dry that material out before it starts to burn. So smaller, definitely better. I went out and collected some material. You want to always remember that a nice big armful of material is going to be most ideal. If you go with anything less than that, what is going to happen is once that fire starts raging, you're going to have to run out and keep collecting material. So just to put the time in, if you have the time and you're not hypothermic or you don't immediately need that fire, put them extra couple minutes in, collect that material up front. It'll make your life that much easier when you initially get your fire going. What I also collected was a larger stick. Now this thing is bigger than my thumb, not as big as my wrist, but it was sitting there perched up against a tree as it fell down. But when you crack it, you can see really quickly that it's super dry inside. So that's gonna be an absolute savior for us. Now when we decide that we're going to create shavings, I don't want to take this outside area because this here is already wet. I want to discard that. So I'm just going to come off to the side here and I'm going to just get rid of that. But really quickly, when I get down inside then, what you can see is that we have dry material. So I can begin to process this material super effectively. Again, I'm just sliding down on this piece of wood, creating a whole bunch of shavings. I'm going to make my life super easy with this. I'm not going to try to make a feather, I'm just going to make shavings. Alright, and I should be about where I need to be with shavings. Again, softball size amount is going to be most ideal for us. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put them in a pile. At this point now, again, working with some efficiency, we want to split this stick. The reason why is if I go lay these on the wet ground, they are going to just suck moisture in. So if I split this stick in half, what that's going to do now is give me somewhere what we like to call a platform in order to build our fire upon. And something that quick and that easy gives me a nice platform to lay those shavings on that I can start my fire. Alright, so you can see at this point now, I have my shavings laying on top of a stick. It was a quick transition out. We're going to just go with some lifeboat matches right now, emergency matches to get this started. I'm going to get this going, but before I do this, I also want to make sure I have that nice backstop that we like to talk about all so much in our stack method. So we're going to get this started right away. We got that down in there, and now I can begin to take my wood It's gonna be wet, which I know, so we're gonna put smaller amounts on initially, once I know that fire is burning, and we're gonna just set that right on top. Again, with the stack method, which we talked about in other videos, I can evaluate what's happening, and while I'm watching that, I can look through here. If there's smaller pieces of wood or larger pieces, I can pull them out. I have some sassafras in here that I know is gonna burn really well. You can see how dirty my hands are. That's all that muck coming off of there. So we need to dry all that out before it's actually gonna burn. So we need to just let this sit for a second and really start to catch. These outside sticks, I'm evaluating they're already burning. I can get some more material on there. Now we have the sticks on my side burning, so I'm just gonna process these down a little bit more and set them on top. Now at this point, due to me not collecting enough material, I'd have to go out and continue to collect. But we're just gonna allow this some time to burn here. Again, we're just gonna manipulate that. It's going to take longer than if it was a nice dry day. That wood has to dry out in order to really catch, okay? So you see it's starting to catch now, and it's gonna do a good job. The good thing with wet wood like this, it normally holds an ember a little bit better, okay? So we're gonna just let this go for a little bit. I would collect more material, and I have myself a sustainable fire in the rain. And literally easy as that. Now, there's a bunch of steps that went in. Remember, we picked a good location, number one, to put our shelter. Number two, we set up a shelter. If you didn't have the luxury of a shelter, you're gonna wanna figure something else out. To process that material without any type of cover just is not the best scenario at all. You're gonna wanna try to cover that. My recommendation would be, if you have no shelter, look what direction the rain's coming in. Normally it has a very slight breeze with it, okay? So you're gonna use your body to block that out. But those shavings, you gotta make super quick then, because they're gonna get wet and they're not gonna burn as well. Then once everything is ready there, you're gonna wanna make that base in order to protect the fire from the ground. And then at that point, get your shavings down and get your fire started. I guess the moral of this story is that this is definitely doable. You just need to think it through before you get started and protect your goods or your fire lay as much as you can until you actually are gonna make that fire. The last thing that I wanted to say about this though is you always want to carry some type of fire starting device along, not just to make spark or make flame, but anything that's going to help extend it is always going to be a good idea. Even if you carry fat wood or birch bark or an extra bird's nest with you, it's going to eliminate needing to make shavings that can get damp, and it's just going to make you that much more comfortable out there knowing, hey, I can get fire and I can get it right when I need it. So this was Dan Walk with Coalcracker Bushcraft. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I like videos like this because this is so realistic to put this in terms of what we teach all the time in this type of weather and this type of climate right now. So check us out at coalcrackerbushcraft.com. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button below, and until the next video, stay in the woods.